Are you looking for more affordable housing, or maybe it's more affordable housing, depending on your budget, but it's in a great location and low carrying costs? Well, if you are, then Mote Ranch might be a really good fit for you. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you what I think you should know about Mote Ranch. And I'm also going to share some little negative aspects about it too. No neighborhood is perfect, so then you know what to expect. And as you start to watch this video, if you decide Mote Ranch is not a fit for you, I do encourage you to watch to the end, because some of the things that I talk about in regards to Mote Ranch could apply to other neighborhoods, and it's just going to help you to be more mindful as you're out there looking at homes and house hunting. Hi, I'm Jill Thomas, and each week I bring new videos about real estate here in the Sarasota area and what it's like to live in the Sunshine State. So if you're either thinking about making a move here, or maybe you have a property to sell, then this could be a good channel for you to subscribe to, follow, all that good stuff. But then really, when you're ready to make a move, or you just have questions, it's not like you have to be prepared to purchase a home in the next month or two. But if you just are trying to still figure things out, please reach out to me, call, text, email me, and I'm happy to talk with you as you, like I said, just try to figure things out and determine what is the next best step. Okay, here we go. Here are 7 things you should know about Mote Ranch. Number 1, let's talk about location first, so you know where we're at. So Mote Ranch is just north of University Parkway. University runs east and west, and it's actually the dividing line between Manatee County at the north and Sarasota County to the south. So like I said, University goes east and west. So because it's Manatee County, it's going to have a Bradenton mailing address, but it's right there. It's just north of Sarasota. So if that location is important to you, you're not too far away. Now it's located between the roads running north and south. To the west, it's going to be Whitfield, and to the east, Honore. And so Honore. People always want to know how we say it. We pronounce it Honore here. So it's right in that area. So when you hit University, there's so much going on right there. So if you just go to the east, you're going to be near UTC, University Town Center, I-75. So if you're commuting, if you need to go north and south quickly, that's close by. And then just beyond that is Lakewood Ranch. And so if you've heard anything about our area, you've heard about Lakewood Ranch. Super popular, lots of things happening there, lots of events. It's a fun area to be at, and all around great shops, restaurants, dining, you name it. It's all right in this whole area just to the east of Mote Ranch. And then if you want to head west on University, you'll eventually get to downtown Sarasota and to some of our other beaches, which are going to be, it depends on traffic, depends on exactly where you want to go. It can be 20, 25 minutes, but let's say 30 minutes tops for some of that. You should be okay unless the traffic is really heavy. Detweiler's is right there at Lockwood Ridge Road in University. I love Detweiler's. And then the airport's just beyond that too. So the airport's at University and 41. So if you keep heading west, it's just so close by. So again, if you need to travel a lot, if you're big into commuting, the location just cannot be beat. And then also it's nestled, Mote Ranch itself is nestled in the Palm Air area. And Palm Air actually has a country club that's optional to join. So you do not have to be a part of it. Mote Ranch is, as far as I know, it's not at all right on the golf course, because sometimes people have concerns with that, of being on a golf course. If there's issues with the golf course in the future, what does that mean for their property values? And it's optional to join Palm Air Country Club. So if you are interested in golf or tennis, pickleball, fitness, or just the social aspect, it's really great. It's a reasonably priced golf course. In fact, I'm going there this afternoon to take a tour for some other folks. And so it's all right there. Number 2, the types of homes. All right, so let's talk about these homes. From what I can figure out by pulling the tax records, there are approximately 485 homes in Mote Ranch. Most of them are single-story homes, or they're ranch homes. I did see a few 2-story, but primarily they're single-story homes, which a lot of people do like. And within Mote Ranch, there's these little separate neighborhoods. They name them. You'll see little signs out front, and within those little separate neighborhoods, the homes are grouped together in similar size, style, the lot size. So you're not going to have a smaller home next to a significantly larger home. They're all going to be relatively similar from one little section to the next. Most of the homes were built anywhere from 1986 to actually 2006. So it seems like it was just a nice slow build there of these homes. There's actually a little separate street off of Honore where some of the homes were built from 2016 to like about 2020. So there's actually a little section with considerably newer homes. The sizes range greatly in size, from a 1,500 square foot home to close to 4,000 square feet. So there's like just this huge range. But like I said, you're not going to have a 1,500 square foot home next to a 3,000 square foot home. So they are going to be grouped together, so you do have that consistency. And then the lot sizes range significantly too, from your modest 7,000 square foot lot to up to 30,000 square feet. So that's a really huge jump. So some people who are looking for homes that are on a little bit more land, they are available in Mote Ranch. So if it's a good area for you, it's a good section because of the location. Usually getting homes with larger lots, you have to go way further east. For that, you have to go to different areas. So it's nice that it's close by. It's more like in town, if you will. As you can imagine, some homes have pools, some don't. Some of the homes have tile roofs and some homes have shingle roofs. I know some people have strong preference between the two, so both types of roofs are available there in Mote Ranch. Something I do like about these homes is because they were starting to be built in the late 80s, and a minimum, most of these homes are going to at least have a vaulted ceiling, a taller ceiling in the living room area, and then some have tall ceilings all throughout the home. So even though the homes are a little bit older, when you do have those taller ceilings, it does make it feel a little bit more spacious and a little bit more contemporary. So there's the quick and dirty on the types of homes in Mote Ranch. Number 3, the prices. Okay, you say, Jill, this sounds great. I like the location. I like the sounds of the homes. I see the videos you're playing here, the pictures of them. I'm sold. How much will it cost? And like I said in the introduction, this area is more affordable. And of course, it's all relative depending on where you're coming from, if you consider it affordable or not. But at the low end, you can get a home for $450,000 in Mote Ranch, and at the high end, $800,000. So considering the location, it's just a beautiful little neighborhood. To get something around $500,000, honestly, that's a very good price for us here. Now, of course, the pricing is going to be determined by the size of the home, the condition, the features. Does it have a pool? What's the view? Sometimes a lot of people reach out to me and they'll say, okay, yep, I want one of those $500,000 homes in this neighborhood, and I want it to be 2,500 square feet, and I want it to have a new roof, and I want it to have a pool. And they've got this beautiful wish list that they're thinking about. But sadly, you're not going to get that type of home for $500,000 in Mote Ranch. So for the $450,000, $500,000, it's definitely going to be smaller. We'll probably need some updating. So you're just not going to get the best of the best at that lower range. So just keep that in mind. But really, overall, it is a very affordable area. And, as you can see, it's a lovely area with sidewalks and the homes are well maintained. Number 4, fees. So the HOA dues in Mote Ranch can run between $550 and $850 per year, not per month, but per year. And there are no CDD fees in this area. So that's a huge savings for a lot of folks. And then, like I said before, you can join the Palmyra Country Club. It's not required. So that right there is nice as well, that it's optional. Now, I know some of you are thinking right now, okay, Jill, that sounds great, but what about like taxes and insurance? What does that look like in that area? The answer is it's hard for me to answer without creating a whole separate video. There's so many factors and things to consider. So I'm not going to address that right now. But the fact that there are no CDD fees is a very nice thing. I'll talk a little bit more about insurance in just a bit there, but that's definitely a conversation to have. If we're on the phone together or you come down, we look at the properties and we can look at things specifically to help you get a grasp on that. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to dig into that right now. Number 5, the amenities. So Mote Ranch actually has some pretty decent little amenities. There's some interesting things there. There is a community swimming pool. There's a little playground. There's some covered gathering areas, a couple different places. So if you had a group of people there, I saw some grills out in that section too, in the community area. There's walking trails. Like I said, there's sidewalks. There's a lot of green space, a lot of lakes and little ponds around, which is really lovely. Something it does have that a lot of communities don't have is a kayak launch and a little dock. So I thought that was kind of fun. It's right there on Braden River, not Bradenton, but Braden River. So it's really neat. Now, I will say that when I saw the kayak launch, that little section there is a little green. I don't know if I would actually go down there, I'll be honest with you. But once you can push past that muck, you can see that the river is really quite lovely. It's clean. and all of that. But this is Florida. So guess what you need to look out for? You got it, those alligators. So keep your eyes peeled for alligators, but you can get in there and do it. If you're comfortable kayaking, you'll be fine. I've canoed in Peace River where it's loaded with alligators, and we do okay. You just have to be a little smart about things. The one time my mom and my friend, they were in the canoe together and they had to chase after their things, but it's just Florida. Welcome to Florida, guys. But their amenities are pretty nice. And so considering that your HOA dues are under $1,000 a year, it's pretty solid. Number 6, rules. So every community, or these communities with HOAs, they're going to have some rules that you need to follow. And some communities are really strict, and some, there's just enough there to keep things looking good. And I think Mote Ranch is probably at the end where it's just, let's keep things looking tidy, looking nice, but nothing too crazy. So I want to share with you a few of the rules that you need to be mindful of. First, let's talk about fences. So in Mote Ranch, some properties can have fences, some cannot. And if you can, it has to be a particular type of fence. So it's not like you could just go out and, hire a superior fence or something like that and put up whatever you'd like. With the roofs, I did see a specific rule that if you have a tile roof and you need to replace the roof, you have to replace it with the tile roof. If you already have a shingle roof, it can be shingle or tile. So you can go either way. But I think once it's tile, it's going to have to stay tile. They do have something called an Architectural Review Committee, or we refer to it as ARC, A-R-C. So anything you're going to do to the exterior, whether it's painting the outside of the house, putting up a fence, doing significant landscaping changes, installing a pool, they're going to want to review that. Now, typically, these architectural review committees, are pretty gracious. They're not looking to make your life difficult or anything. Honestly, I think they're just looking to make sure that people don't do anything terribly extreme to the house to make it an eyesore. If they're painting something, the house crazy colors and doing unique schemes, or like I said, they have to have the appropriate fence up, things like that. They just want to make sure everything stays looking nice. As you can imagine, there's not going to be any commercial vehicles, or can't keep your boat or anything like that on the property. So we're talking about the kayak launch. You just can't have a kayak rack out in the front of your house to store your kayak. You have to put it in the back, on the side of the house, maybe keep it in the garage. Be creative with that, because they don't want to see it from the outside, out front. And then there are rental restrictions in Mote Ranch. At a minimum, you can rent it for 3 months, but they don't want any lease agreements to be written for more than a year, which is kind of an unusual rule, but maybe they just want somebody just to have person in there for 5 years. I'm not sure what the thinking is behind that, or maybe you can rewrite the lease for another year if somebody wants to stay on, but anywhere from 3 months to a year, and only one time per year. So you're not going to rent it out for January, February, March to somebody, and then April, May, June to somebody else. Okay, last but not least, number 7, the pros and cons. So first I'm going to share with you some of the pros. Of course, you probably picked up on some of this already, during the video, but I'm going to do a little recap here. So first, location. Lovely location, just north of Sarasota, close to UTC, Lakewood Ranch, good for commuting, 75, close to the airport, not terribly far from downtown Sarasota and the beaches. So just very central, and I think it's just a good, solid location. Second, there's a good variety of homes, size of home, styles, shapes, you name it, and it can fit a wide range of budgets. So I think that is also a nice aspect about Mote Ranch. The next thing I want to mention is, if you've heard me talk about older homes before, this won't be new, but there's something to say about these older homes. When you come in, they tend to be a little bit more wide. They feel a little bit more spacious, even if they're the same square footage as a newer home. The way they use their space is a lot different. Definitely something to say about new homes too. Oh my goodness, like who doesn't love new beautiful kitchen, and these more modern layouts. But with the older homes, older neighborhoods, the lots tend to be more equally as wide as they are deep. Whereas with the newer homes, the lots tend to be long and narrow. So the homes are long and narrow. So I do like the layouts of some of the older homes. So if you're like me, that Mote Ranch is going to have that. As I'd said before, very reasonable fees and carrying cost to have a home in Mote Ranch. So it's not going to break the bank. And then finally, as you can see in the videos, Mote Ranch is really well maintained. It's a lovely area. All the homes looked great, tidy, nothing stood out, nothing looked out of sorts or ugly. They have these great little fences around, just charming, lots of lakes, little retention ponds everywhere. So I think it's a beautiful area. Like I said, with the amenities, if you are into kayaking, if you do want access to the Braden River to throw a kayak in or a canoe, that's right there. Now, as you know, not all that glitters is gold. There are some negative things about Mote Ranch, so I want to point those out to you as well. So in Mote Ranch, with the exception of that one little section where the homes are newer, the homes are old. So old homes means old stuff, right? And so unless things have been updated, the air conditioning could be old, the roof, hot water tank, or just the style of the homes. Maybe there's lack of updates, and so those things need to be done. So old homes means, of course, potentially old stuff. The next thing I want to mention to you is, with the exception of those newer homes, the older homes in there are probably not going to have impact glass in their windows, which means like hurricane windows or hurricane shutters, unless an owner has installed those things. So if that's important to you, then maybe Mote Ranch isn't a good fit. It doesn't mean that there couldn't be a home in there that's older that has that, but the likelihood is going to be a lot smaller. Now, for some people, having hurricane shutters or impact glass is super, super important. They're very uncomfortable with the idea of having a home here and without those. In fact, some people just assume that everybody does, but this window right here behind me, installed in the 70s. Sometimes I can kind of hear it rattling right now. My lawn guy's out there, if you can hear the noise at all. So far, so good with me. But if it's important to you, then it's important to you, and that's okay. Something else I saw in Mote Ranch is there are power lines going through the community. Now, it's not every section. Like I said, there's these little sections. So it's more like the homes that are on the one side of the community. You could see the power lines on the other side. You don't. But for some people, that's a big deal. Other people, they don't care. But I just want to mention that to you. Next thing, insurance issues. Okay, I feel like I talk about this all the time, but there's a lot of people I talk to that have not heard this. So in the state of Florida, insurance is definitely a sticky thing right now. And a lot of it has to do with those roofs. And so, of course, these homes are built in the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s. And if the roof is old, it could be a challenge to get insurance, or either you can't get insurance, you can get it and you're going to be paying crazy money for it. Or even if you can get it and close, there's a chance in 6 months from now, your insurance company is going to send you a letter and say, replace that roof in the next 30 days, or we are going to drop you. So definitely be conscientious of the roofs, the age of the roofs on any property. And the other thing that the insurance company wants to know about too is just not the roof, but the AC, electric, and plumbing. Something called a 4-point inspection. They're going to ask about it on any of these homes, and probably even a wind mitigation report, or we call it a wind mit, which does talk about how, just not is there a roof or what's the age of the roof, but how is it attached to the house? How's it tied down? Something about clips and nails and all this kind of stuff. And then also if there are hurricane shutters or impact glass in those windows. So that's a really big deal. Right now I'm talking to folks, and if the home is older or if something does seem risky. Now, if the house was built in the 90s and the roof is just a few years old and, we can see that everything's relatively updated, then you should be okay. But I still encourage people, talk to an insurance agent during that inspection period, or even before we put in an offer, to make sure that you're comfortable with the way this insurance situation's unfolding, because I don't want you to be stuck with a house and a high insurance premium. So that's a really important thing to think about right now. And then finally, flood zones. All right, so all of Florida is a flood zone. All right, sometimes people say, I don't want to be in a flood zone. All of Florida is a flood zone, but the idea is, how risky is your flood zone? So flood zone X or X500 is the least risky. I live in a flood zone X. So far, so good, thankfully. Anything outside of that is a more risky flood zone. So there are parts of Mote Ranch that most of it's flood zone X. There are some that are A, AE, something else besides X, or sometimes just around the little lakes and ponds themselves are a flood zone. The house itself is X, but right behind it is maybe a different flood zone. So just keep that in mind. So of course, if you're getting insurance and you're in a flood zone, something besides X, then you have to have flood insurance. Or if you want to have flood insurance, even if you're paying cash, or even if you're in flood zone X, you can have flood insurance if you want. It would be at a lower rate because you're in a less risky flood zone. So that's the other thing too, is some sections of Mote Ranch are in a more risky flood zone. All right, there we go. The good, the bad, and the ugly about Mote Ranch. What do you think about it? Do you think it might be a good fit for you? And if you're familiar with Mote Ranch or familiar with the area in general, and you have something else to add, good, bad, put it in the comments below so everybody sees it, because sometimes I think about something and then I forget to mention it in the video. So I don't mean to hold information back from you at all. So there you go, Mote Ranch. If you want to talk about real estate, like I said, give me a call. I'm here to help you out. Thanks for watching. Take care.